Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, the beginning of a brand new week. I'm Sophie, and this is Sparky. Sparky's just hanging out over here. Sparky is a sloth, and it is time for story time. So today I am calling it Mindfulness Monday. What do you think about that, Sparky? You like Mindfulness Monday? Good. Okay. Well, we are going to be doing Mindfulness Monday. I think the world could use a little bit more mindfulness right now. Things are a little bit crazy, but let's get started with a story from Shel Silverstein's Where the Sidewalk Ends. And this one doesn't have any pictures, but I thought that this was a very interesting story, poem, and it's called The Forgotten Language. Once I spoke the language of the flowers. Once I understood each word the caterpillar said. Once I smiled in secret at the gossip of the starlings and shared a conversation with a housefly in my bed. Once I heard and answered all the questions of the crickets and joined the crying of each falling, dying flake of snow. Once I spoke the language of the flowers. How did it go? How did it go? I think it would be really great if we could remember the language of our hearts, remember the language of our childhood, remember the language of our friends, be they stuffed or alive. Well, let's say hello, shall we? Okay, let's wave. Hello, how are you all? Hello, how are you all? Hello, how are you? I'm just fine today. I'm glad to see you here today. I'm glad to see you here today. I'm glad to see you here today. I'm so glad to see you. Okay, let's dance. Let's get ourselves going. Let's dance around the room, shall we? Dance, dance, dance as free as you can, and dance, dance, dance as free as you can, and dance, dance, dance as free as you can. I'm so glad to see you. You know, I used to be afraid of dancing when I was little, and now I dance all the time. So what do you say? Let's hop around the room. Let's hop, hop, hop like a bunny. Hop, hop, hop just like a bunny, and hop, hop, hop just like a bunny, and hop, hop, hop just like a bunny. I'm so glad to see you. And you know what? If you feel like it this morning, let's skip around the room. And if you don't know how to skip, that's okay. You can jump some more. Let's just move, shall we? Skip, skip, skip around the room, and skip, skip, skip around the room. Skip, skip, skip around the room. I'm so glad to see you. And Sparky, you know what time it is? We're gonna make some funny faces because this is my favorite part of the song. Here we go. Like a honey, honey as a kid. Like a honey face as you can. Make a funny face as funny as you can. I'm so glad to see you. I tried not to cross my eyes that time. Usually I cross my eyes, but I tried. I don't know if I succeeded, Sparky. Here we go. Let's wave hello. Hello, how are you all? Hello, how are you all? Hello, how are you? I'm just fine today. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you so much for inviting me into your home or into your pocket or into your device, however you are watching us today. Sparky and I are so happy. Sparky's just hanging out here. You can see Sparky's had a lazy weekend. You ready to wake up, Sparky? Come on over. So Sparky is very excited to get started. He's very slow to rising because he is a sloth, but he is full of excitement, aren't you, Sparky? Yes, you are. So we are going to get started with a really fun book. This is called Caps for Sale and the Mindful Monkeys. Now, I don't think you are related to a monkey, are you? No. Even though you might look like one, you're not related to a monkey, are you? I think you're related more to a teddy bear. Okay, you come sit up here, Sparky, and we're going to read Caps for Sale and the Mindful Monkeys. This is by Esfrith Okay, this is a very hard name for me to say, and let me make sure I try to get it right. Slobodkina, Esfer Slobodkina, and Anne-Marie Mulhern Sayer. So Slobodkina. I hope I didn't butcher that too badly. Caps for Sale and the Mindful Monkeys. Caps for Sale and the Mindful Monkeys by Esfra Slobodkina and Anne-Marie Mulhern Sayer. I don't know if you can see there, but there is our cap seller, and he has all the caps on top of his head, and here's a bunch of little monkeys. Pizzo the peddler sold caps, but he was not like any ordinary peddler, carrying his ware on his back. He carried them on top of his head. Every day he walked through the streets of the town calling, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." Look at that. He's got those caps on his head. Every night he sat on his bench in his yard making caps to sell, 50 cents a cap. The peddler had always enjoyed his quiet life, but suddenly things had changed. Look at him sitting in the back there, sewing caps. Now, in the big tree in his backyard, there were 16 monkeys. They had followed the peddler for 2 days, and for 2 nights they had slept in his tree. And this morning, the monkeys were still there. "Oh, you monkeys, you," the peddler said, shaking his finger at them. "You must go home." But the monkeys only shook their fingers back at him and said, "Can you shake your finger?" "Yeah." "Sparky, can you shake your finger?" Today the peddler was going to visit his friend Essie. Essie was wise. She would know what to do about the monkeys. The peddler started up the dirt road, and the monkeys started up the dirt road too. Right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, all in step. Now, don't you think that might have been a funny sight to see 16 monkeys going right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot? When the peddler reached Essie's porch, he pulled on the bell chain outside her door. The sound of the bells startled the monkeys, and they got scared and they scattered. "Greetings, my friend," Essie said as the peddler hurried past. "No time for greetings," the peddler waited. "I am in trouble and I need help. I've been followed by 16 monkeys who will not go home." Let's get those monkeys over there. See all the monkeys? Essie was an artist. Pointing to a chair with her paintbrush, she said calmly, "Oh, sit down and tell me what is happening." Essie painted while she listened. As the peddler recounted his story, his temper rose again. "I told them to go home. The monkeys must go home," he shouted as he stamped his feet. Essie's cat, Scaramouche, sprang to the top of the chest of drawers, hissing. I guess Scaramouche did not like the fact that Pezzo was getting very upset like that. There's Scaramouche. Can you see Scaramouche? Scaramouche is a good name for a cat, especially if it has a mustache. The peddler eyed Scaramouche, and he stopped shouting, and he sat down, and he put his head in his hands. Sometimes we decide something is no good before we have given it a chance," Essie said. The peddler replied, "I don't understand." "Perhaps the monkeys will go home. Perhaps they will not. Are they doing anything wrong?" "No," admitted the peddler. "Sometimes what we don't want is exactly what we need," Essie continued. Let me read that one more time. Sometimes what we don't want is exactly what we need. Let's remember that, shall we? Look at the beautiful painting that Essie's making. Look at all those monkeys in the windows. Oh, that poor peddler. He looks so downtrodden, doesn't he? Go home, Essie said, and see what comes to pass. The peddler frowned. But I won't like what will come to pass, he said. Nonsense, Essie replied. You cannot dislike what hasn't happened yet. It's just not possible. That's an interesting thing. Let me read that one more time. Nonsense, Essie replied. You cannot dislike what hasn't happened yet. It's just not possible. The peddler left Essie's house. She chuckled as she watched the monkeys follow her friend. Right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, all in step. Do you think Scaramouche thinks it's funny that the monkeys are following the peddler? Poor peddler does not think it's funny. That night after work, the peddler sat in his backyard making caps. The monkeys were busy too. Some were scratching their bellies, some were combing their hair, some were eating their supper, and all were looking at him. The peddler threaded a needle, and then he reached for a piece of cloth, and he pulled the needle through the cloth, in and out, in and out, in and out and around. He skillfully made a cap. The peddler placed the cap in the trunk by his bench, and then he looked up at the monkeys. I watch you, and you watch me, he said, and the monkeys replied, tick, 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 tick. So there you can see the monkeys. Some are scratching their bellies, some are eating their bananas, and some are just watching. Suddenly, the peddler's phone rang. The news was sad. A friend from another town was sick. The peddler said he would come right away. Oh my, he thought, I have enough money to travel and help, but no time to make caps to sell tomorrow. Oh, I hope I'm not going to be gone too long. He's having a very thoughtful moment there. After the peddler left, the monkeys waited for him. They waited for him to return and make the caps. The moon came up. No peddler. The sun came up. No peddler. The moon came up. No peddler. The monkeys eyed the needles and the thread, and they gazed at the pieces of cloth. Then they looked at the open trunk. No caps. They were very mindful monkeys. So what do you think they did? So look at the monkeys. They're looking at that cat, and they're looking at that trunk going, there's no caps in there, and usually there's caps in there. One by one, the monkeys descended, which means they came down from the tree. They remembered how the peddler had pulled the thread through the needles. Some monkeys pulled thread through the needles. Look at all those monkeys. What are they doing? They remembered how the peddler pulled the needles through the cloth. Some monkeys pulled the needles through the cloth. They remembered how the needles went in and out and in and out and in and out and around. And soon the trunk began to fill with caps, gray caps, brown caps, blue caps, and red caps. And when they had sewn every piece of cloth, the monkeys climbed out slowly into the tree. They were very, very tired, and they quickly fell asleep. Look at all those monkeys in the tree. I bet they were very tired. It's a lot of work. Late that night, the peddler came home. He was very tired too, but his friend was much better, and that was important. The peddler was worried. He had no money left, and it was late, too late to make caps to sell tomorrow. He went outside to sit and think, and what do you think he saw? He looked to his right. Caps. He looked to his left. Caps. He looked behind him. Caps. He looked beside the tree. More caps. Gray caps, brown caps, blue caps, red caps. I don't remember making these caps, the peddler thought to himself. I must have forgotten. But surely I did not make so many. That could be very confusing, couldn't it? The peddler looked up into the tree. The monkeys seemed exhausted. They were drooping over the branches, like old clothes. Some were even snoring. The peddler scratched his head and wondered. He looked up again. A piece of red thread was hanging from a monkey's foot. He said to himself, and he began to pick up the caps. Can you see that little bit of red thread right there hanging from that monkey's foot? What do you think that the peddler is thinking? Do you think he's thinking, Do you think that he's thinking that the monkeys made the caps? Next morning when the peddler left for work, the monkeys did not follow him. As he began calling, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap," he felt very alone, and he wondered why. He thought about the pile of caps that he had found last night, and he thought about the snoring monkeys still asleep in the trees, and he thought, and he thought, and then he thought some more. Don't you love how he piles all the caps up on his head? Suddenly, Essie's wise words were back in the peddler's mind. Sometimes what we don't want is exactly what we need. And now he knew what she was trying to tell him. 4 children approached the peddler. "Where are your monkeys?" they asked. "They're not my monkeys," the peddler replied, and then he added quickly, "but they are my friends." That night when the peddler came home, he had with him a big bunch of bananas. Where do you think he got a bunch of bananas that big? That's a big bunch of bananas, don't you think so, Sparky? And that is Caps for Sale and the Mindful Monkeys by Esther Slobodkina and Anne-Marie Mulhern-Sayer. Caps for Sale and the Mindful Monkeys. There's another really wonderful story by them called Caps for Sale. And in fact, when I ordered that book from the library, that's what I thought I was getting. But I got this one instead. And actually, I think that this is a really good story. I like how mindful those monkeys are. They watched and they learned and they helped out their friend, didn't they? Even though he didn't even know that he needed their help. Well, Sparky, we're going to sing a song about caps. And this comes from I learned this song from YouTube. And I have to tell you guys, so I like to try to do a new song for every story time, or a new 2 songs for every story time. And I tell you honestly, I've been doing so many story times now, I've run out of songs. So I've been turning to YouTube to learn my songs. And this one comes from a group, and it's really, really good. And I put the link in the show notes. So check them out. If you like this song, check them out because they do a really wonderful, wonderful version. It's from the Learning Channel. And it's called I Got a Hat. It goes like this. So you can be part of it if you want to. It says, I got a hat, a baseball hat. I put it on my head and I give it a tap. So you can give your head a tap. And then I spin around and clap. And I spin around my hat. So if you want to do that, like Sparky just did, you can do it too. Here we go. Oh, I got a hat, it's a baseball hat. I put it on my head and I give it a tap. And then I spin around and clap. And I spin around my hat. I got a hat, it's a big straw hat. I put it on my head and I give it a tap. And then I spin around and clap. I spin around my hat. Without a hat, you'd have a cold head, unprotected from the weather. I wear a hat, a cloth one, and sometimes even leather. Without a hat, you had a head unprotected from the sun. I wear a hat because of 3 words. It's real fun. Oh, I got a hat, it's a tall top hat. I put it on my head and I give it a tap. And then I spin around and clap. I spin around my hat. I got a hat, it's a captain's hat. I put it on my head and I give it a tap. And then I spin around my hat. I spin around and clap. I got a hat, on a cold head, unprotected by the weather. I wear a hat, a cloth one, and sometimes even leather. Without a hat, you'd have a head, unprotected by the sun. I wear a hat because of 3 words, it's just fun. Oh, I got a hat, it's a party hat. I put it on my head and I give it a tap, and then I spin around and clap, and then I spin around my hat. I got a hat, it's a painter's hat. I put it on my head and I give it a tap, and then I spin around and clap, and I spin around my hat. Without a hat, you'd have a cold head, unprotected by the weather. I wear a hat, a cloth one, and sometimes even leather. Without a hat, you'd have a head, unprotected from the sun. I wear a hat because of 3 words, it's real fun. Oh, I got a hat, a safari hat. I put it on my head and I give it a tap, and then I spin around and clap. I spin around my hat. I got a hat, it's a cowboy hat. I put it on my head and I give it a tap, and then I spin around and clap, and I spin around my hat. Without a hat, you'd have a cold head, unprotected by the weather. I wear a hat, a cloth one, and sometimes even leather. Without a hat, you'd have a head, unprotected from the sun. I wear a hat because of 3 words, it's just fun. I got hats, lots of hats. I put them on my head and I give them a tap, and then I spin around and clap, spin around and clap. I got hats, lots of hats. Put them on my head and spin around and clap, spin around and clap. I got hats, lots of hats. Put them on my head and I give them a tap, and then I spin around and clap, spin around and clap. Is that a fun song? I hope you check it out on YouTube, because the YouTube version is really, 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 really good. It's got a full orchestra, and the guy who sings it is awesome, and the pictures are great. And check it out, really fun. Speaking of checking it out, we're going to read a really great book about mindfulness. This is called Little Blue and Little Yellow, and it's by Leo Lionni, who, you know, is one of my favorite authors. And I think, Madeline, if you are out there listening, you know how much I love Leo Lionni. This is Little Blue and Little Yellow, and Madeline actually suggested that I read this. Madeline and her mommy, Betsy, told me that I should give this a read. This is a story for Pippo and Anna and the other children by Leo Lionni. Little Blue and Little Yellow. This is Little Blue. Here he is at home with his papa and mama. Don't they have a nice home? Little Blue has many friends. But his best friend is Little Yellow. Isn't it nice to have a best friend? It is nice to have a best friend. Little Yellow lives across the street. Look at that. He's got his own little family. How they love to play hide and go seek. I wonder who's the hider and who's the seeker in that game. Hard to tell, isn't it? And ring around the rosy. You need a lot of friends for that one. In school, they all sit in neat rows. And after school, they run and jump. One day, Mama Blue went shopping. "You stay home," she said to Little Blue. Blue is all the way in the edge. "You stay home," she said to Little Blue. There goes Mama. But Little Blue went out to look for Little Yellow. Oh, Little Blue didn't listen to his mama. I wonder what's going to happen. Alas, the house across the street was empty. Uh-oh, his friend's not there. What do you think he should do? Should he go back home? Let's find out. He looked here and there and everywhere until suddenly around the corner there was Little Yellow. Whee! Happily, they hugged each other. And hugged each other. Have you ever had one of those days where you just don't want to stop hugging? That's how they are. Until they were green. That's interesting, isn't it? Then they went to play in the park. And they ran through a tunnel. And they chased Little Orange. And they climbed a mountain. My goodness, they're having an adventure, aren't they? And when they were tired, they went home. But Papa and Mama Blue said, "You are not our Little Blue. You are green." And Papa and Mama Yellow said, "You are not our Little Yellow. You are green." Uh-oh. Suddenly they don't belong. Isn't that interesting? Little Blue and Little Yellow were very sad, and they cried big blue and yellow tears. And they cried until they were all tears. And when they finally pulled themselves together, they said, "Will they believe us now?" Now that they're back to being Little Blue and Little Yellow? Mama Blue and Papa Blue were very happy to see their Little Blue. And they hugged and kissed him. And they hugged and kissed Little Yellow. But look, they became green. Now they knew what had happened, and so they went across the street to bring the good news. They all hugged each other with joy, and the children played until supper time. Do you see what's happening? They're hugging, and they make green, and they're hugging, and they make green, and they're hugging, and they make green. And there's an interesting thing happening here too. These two are hugging, and they're making a very different color altogether. And that's the end. And there they are. There's Little Blue and Little Yellow together making the color green. I think that this is a very interesting book, don't you? Little Blue and Little Yellow by Leo Lionni. It's interesting how two people can join together and become something different, can't they? And it's interesting how we can spread that difference into the world if we're mindful, if we think about it, if we take the time to do so. Right, Sparky? Sparky, shall we sing a mindfulness song? I want to teach you a little mindfulness song. Again, this is a great YouTube song, and it is called May You Be Happy. And if you meditate, this is one of the things, it's called metta, and it goes like this. May you be happy, may you be peaceful, may you be filled with love, may what I want you to do is point to somebody or hold their hand, somebody who you think is special, that you want to wish happiness and peace to, and sing the same words. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be filled with love. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be filled with love. And now, what I want you to do is point to yourself. Point to yourself, Sparky? So point to yourself and say, may I be peaceful. May I be happy. May I be filled with love. May I be happy. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be peaceful. May I be filled with love. And for the last verse, let's think about all the people in the world. Everybody, our family, our friends. Let's say we. May we be peaceful. May we be happy. May we be filled with love. May we be peaceful. May we be happy. May we be filled with love. And once more, let's just say you. May you be peaceful. May you be happy. May you be filled with love. Well, we can hope, right? Let's share a little bit of love with the people that are close to us today, and maybe all the people that we run into today. Okay. Hopefully we'll be running into people today. Okay, this one is called Solitude. Now, part of mindfulness is that sometimes we need to spend a little time by ourselves, huh, Sparky? I know when we're young, sometimes that feels like, I don't want to spend time by myself. But, everybody needs a little bit of time by themselves. And that's what solitude means. Solitude means being by ourselves and with ourselves and enjoying ourselves. And this is from Now We Are Six by A.A. Milne with decorations by Ernest H. Shepard. And it's called Solitude. And I want to show you the picture first, because I always think that it's nice to see the pictures when we can. So there's our little boy, I think that's Christopher Robin, sitting under his own little structure that he made. You could make a structure like that, couldn't you? It's just 3 sticks tied together right up at the top to make like a little teepee or a lean-to. Solitude. I have a house where I go when there's too many people. I have a house where I go where no one can be. I have a house where I go where nobody ever says no, where no one says anything, so there is no one but me. And that is called solitude. Well, if you could believe it, it is the end of another story time. It feels like it just went so fast, although I know we went a little long today. So, Sparky and I want to wave goodbye to you. So let's sing our goodbye song, shall we, Sparky? Okay, we're going to sing the goodbye song. Now, I learned a lesson. Sparky can't sit in my lap when I play the guitar, so maybe, Sparky, can you sit on my shoulders? Okay, there we go. All right, here we go. Let's see if we can say goodbye. Goodbye, Madeline. Goodbye, Frangelica. Goodbye, Francine. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye, Helen. Goodbye, Danny. Goodbye, Lily. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye, Shelby. Goodbye, Ollie. Goodbye. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye, Delilah. Goodbye, JC. Goodbye, Lily. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye, Maya. Goodbye, Charlotte. Goodbye, Isabella. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye, Gabriella. Goodbye, Lillian. Goodbye, Pax. I'll see you all next time. Sparky, I'm going to have to find a perfect place for you to say goodbye in the goodbye song. Well, everybody, Sparky wants to say goodbye with a high five. So here's a high five from Sparky and a high five from me. And how about we give a hug? So you ready, Sparky? One arm on one side, one arm on the other side, and squeeze really tight. And that's a hug from me to you. Bye, everybody. We will see you on Wednesday. Sparky and I will be back with more stories. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you soon.